Have we all at some point experienced this moment of awkwardness, regardless of whether you are a healthcare provider, whether you're a parent, or anyone who is in a position of authority and has quite a bit of knowledge, and you are inevitably going to be stuck with questions that you have never heard of before and you don't know the answer to? How do we navigate those situations as healthcare providers, and how do we best communicate in those situations with our patients? To learn more, stay tuned for the rest of this video. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Shweta. I'm the founder of Healthy Dynamics. We are a coaching space that helps healthcare professionals from non-English speaking backgrounds improve their language as well as communication skills in order to become excellent communicators, build good relationships with their patients that are based on trust and credibility, as well as stand out in their place of work as a person of excellence. So today is a particularly hot day where I am in Melbourne, Australia. It's going to be 33 degrees. So I thought I would film this video before it gets really, really hot. And also I'm just on my way to a yoga session. So I thought we will just get into it and explore this concept that we all inevitably may have faced at some point. Now, the little role play that I did in the very beginning is from a movie that's one of my absolute all-time favorite movies. It's called Three Idiots. I'm just going to leave a link to the movie up here. So it's one of the opening scenes of the movie where this professor, the dean of the college, or the university, is a quite eccentric, we call him Nutty Professor, and his name is actually Virus, so that's his nickname. And he literally is a virus. So he, welcomes all the first year, the newbies to the college university, and he shares the story about, how the pen that he was referring to is a symbol of excellence. And if you have watched the movie, if you haven't, I would highly recommend anyone and everyone should watch this movie. Not only is it funny, it's so entertaining, and it's got such a good message to it. So, and it is on Netflix, and it does have subtitles of all languages. So in this scene, what happens is the lead actor, the main character, challenges the professor and asks him, what if instead of inventing a pen and spending so much money on researching it and developing it, people could have just used pencils in the astronaut or outer space, just so that you can save dollars and still get your job done. Now, for me personally, this is not the first time that I have heard of a scenario like this. When I was in the education space, when I was a high school teacher, I used to get so many questions from my students that I did not know the answer to. And that is not surprising for me to experience, because whether it's students or especially when they are little kids, middle school kids or high school kids, they see you like as this font and wealth of knowledge, and they think that you know everything. And kids by nature are curious. So, and I'm sure any of you over here who's watching who's a parent, I'm sure you're used to having your kids ask you a lot of questions all the time. And as a teacher, a high school and a middle school teacher, I used to get that all the time as well. And sometimes I didn't know what to say. And I felt really stuck, and I felt really embarrassed because, not only do the students, but their parents also trust me to impart my knowledge and wisdom to these kids. And when I was hit with questions that I'm not familiar with or don't know very much about, and I had to sort of make something up in order to just give the students some bit of information, that was quite a daunting experience. And this is something that as healthcare providers, we are more than likely to face from time to time. Because again, just like how kids and students view their teachers and parents, patients view their healthcare providers as someone who is A, in a position of authority, and B, someone who they really look up to as a person of immense knowledge and experience. However, at the end of the day, healthcare providers are human. They are not know-it-alls. They should neither pretend to be know-it-alls. They are just learning and developing and evolving just like anyone else. So it's quite important that you embrace not only these questions, but also develop the skills on how to handle these questions from patients and sort of get through them in an effective manner so that it's not an awkward, uncomfortable experience for either of them. So let's get into some things that I have done during my time as a teacher, and I would really suggest that yourself as a healthcare provider should really be doing when you get tricky questions from your patients. So let's get into it. Number one is that it is absolutely okay to admit to your patient that you don't know the answer. I have done this in the past with my students, and they actually really liked my honesty. Now, obviously, children being children, they like people who are honest and genuine, and it's no exception for patients. So there is nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed about if you don't know the answer, and it's absolutely nothing wrong in also admitting honestly that you don't know the answer. I think as a society and as a culture, we have really demonized, not only being not knowing everything, but also things like, failure and a whole host of other things that make people, lose face or feel embarrassed. And that is something that we, as a collective, need to really break out of, I believe. So definitely, if you're hit with a question like this, it's absolutely okay and genuine and honest from your part to admit that you are not sure of the answer. And if anything, patients will appreciate your honesty for it. So that's number one. Number two, you should absolutely reassure them that they will have an accurate answer for you within a particular time frame. Now, when I did this with my students as a high school teacher, I would tell them that, give me a day or two. I will look into it and I'll definitely have an answer for you. And I did just that. And I didn't just go and Google whatever was at my fingertips. I researched extensively. I looked at every source, so not just a simple Google search. I looked on YouTube, I looked on, journal articles, whatever the question was, obviously, so in that context. And and I was able to give them an accurate answer in a time frame. And it is important that you do the same thing. So this is quite, I think, easier when you actually have more frequent consultations with your patients, and you're not seeing them one and done. And you're this is easier when you're actually you have a more frequent correspondence with your patients. So do reassure them that you will have an accurate answer for them in a time frame, and research from a variety of sources, and don't hesitate to give your own personal experience and your own personal perspective. I have mentioned this many times in my past videos that patients in particular, they really like it when you are relatable with them and you can actually give your own perspective on things and share your own experiences and your own take on different factors. And they find that quite relatable and they find that quite easy to navigate around. So that definitely would be my second big suggestion. Number three, accept that you're only human and that all humans are flawed and imperfect, and patients are no different. So it is absolutely, like I said in the very first point, it's absolutely okay to admit that you are a human, you are not a know-it-all, you're not a walking encyclopedia, you are not expected to be, and you should not pretend to be one either. So in that situation, it's absolutely okay to admit that, okay, I don't know this, and it for me is something that I should look into. It will benefit me in the long run, and it's something that if it does come up in the future, I'll know exactly what to do. So learning from experience and also can be a very good thing in a situation like this. And just take it in your stride and sort of use it as a superpower. I would say that you are only human, you're not a superhuman, and you are not a super professional, as I called it in the past. So admit the fact that you are flawed and imperfect, just like patients. So you're just no different to them in many ways. That's number three. And number four, finally, is that treat it as a teachable moment for yourself. Now, no matter what field you're in, whether you're in healthcare, whether you're in academics, whether you're in the coaching space, whatever it is, we never stop learning. We learn till we take our very last breath. So you have to have that mindset that, my education, my knowledge, my skills don't stop when I finish my qualification. I have to develop myself continuously in my professional space and other areas of your life as well, obviously. So it is important that you treat these questions, which you not only have to welcome them, but also treat them as a teachable moment and an opportunity for career and professional and personal development for yourself. If anything, it will give you a good standing and it will make you a much more well-rounded individual, not just professionally, but also as an individual and as a human being. So the point being that, we all never stop learning, and we only stop learning when we take our last breath. So it's very important that we develop a mindset that if we are hit with questions that we are not familiar with, instead of making it an awkward, embarrassing, uncomfortable experience for ourselves and for the patient, you welcome them. You absolutely have to say, thank you very much for bringing this to my attention, and I will look into this and I will give you a response within a particular time frame once I have done my research on it and have given my take on it. So in a situation like this one, where sometimes, and I will share my own experience with you. So in the previous times when I did have my consultations with my then psychiatrist, I had a habit of really asking him a lot of challenging questions. And it was not just because I wanted him to knock him off his pedestal. That was not the point. Because I had my own sort of, myths and theories and beliefs that what he was telling me and what mainstream medicine and society was telling me about mental health. I just did not buy that. And I would not confront him. I would actually go and ask him that this is what I have discovered, this is what I have learned. And even during our sessions, I would rebut him with things that A, I didn't understand, or B, I didn't quite vibe with or agree with. So when you are getting this type of a question from the patient, sometimes, yes, it can very well be, because they don't know anything. But on the other side, it can also be because they are not only genuinely curious, but they're also challenging you in terms of getting you to think in a different way, change your mindset and change your perspective, and change what you know about what you have known about a certain procedure. So, for example, this is one example you might get if you're in the mental health space or if you're in the therapy space. You might actually get that when you are in a consultation with one of your clients or your patients. Similarly, if you have, say, one of your patients, if you're, say, for example, you are someone who is quite big on, say, conventional medicine like vaccination, chemotherapy, anything like that, and you might have a patient who might say to you that, I have heard or I have experienced that more holistic methods of treatment are much better, and they might ask you questions about that. And this is not really to throw you under the bus or make you lose face. It's because they want to not only learn, but they also want to challenge you, and you have to take that in a positive way, because that's the only way we will all learn, grow, and develop. So hope this video has been useful to you, and next week I will look into with you how to avoid saying certain things when you're being asked certain questions by your patients as healthcare professionals, and what to say instead when you're being asked tricky questions that you've never heard of before. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure that you give it a like, and also please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to ensure that you get weekly content like this on your YouTube feed every single week, and the algorithm gods are also happy. So time for me to head to my yoga session, and thank you very much for your attention and presence, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much.